What it do, YouTube? Is Coffee tapping back in, man. And this commercial here is like on an international, global level, like creating quite the stir. And I don't know if I necessarily want to call it controversy, but there's a lot of talk about that. And it's pretty wild as an American, right? When it comes to America, right? The capitalistic society that it is, the way that we look at a lot of other places. I don't want to say we're brainwashed to see them that way, but for whatever reason you want to call it, the way that an average American looks at a lot of other places is inaccurate. However, we became accustomed to view certain places that way, and America is quite different to other individuals who come here. I got a bro, who is from Africa, Ethiopia to be exact, who is a thriving business owner in America. But, he shared with me, man, the way it is in America, all these big business deals going down here, Hollywood's based here, just it's all like we view it in other countries, like the streets are paved with gold and whatnot, but then there's so much poverty and addiction and people living in skid row type environments. It's really something else. And I bring all this to kind of say the big news on this with Ricky Rose, Rick Ross, or some people call him Officer Ricky. This isn't hitting American headlines, but it kind of is secondary coming from all the hoopla and discussions going on over in South Africa where this commercial aired. The company Pick and Pay, which is, I guess, not doing too well, shutting down stores. Other stores are converting into other businesses. It kind of, from my bit of research here, seems like it's on its last leg in some ways. Like it's just not doing well. Like the company could just be closing its doors for good. And they're just in South Africa looking at this like, man, why did, for one, they spend so much money marketing wise to bring in Rick Ross, which I got to ask the question, is Rick Ross, I wonder, like, there's no definitive answer on what he was paid for this. I'm wondering if Rick Ross was taking in more of a discount rate than he would like people to know. And it's kind of funny. Anyone, if you ever watched the show Entourage, hit the comments and let me know if you did. New viewers, make sure to subscribe, hit the buttons and all that. But for real, everyone, Coffee, talk it up with me as always. That's what it's all about over here, hearing from the people. There's something that was portrayed in that show, which is accurate, right? Vinny Chase, the main character of the show, went and did some ads for more or less a Chinese Red Bull type of company. And he was worried about how it would look on his image in America, and would it affect what people want to pay him, that he's doing ads like this and whatnot. And they're like, yo, this is in another country. It's not going to air in America. It's almost like it never happened. And there's a foreign U.S. action star. I can't think of the guy's name, man. I feel like he did some milk commercials that were like real out of character for him here. I forget the dude's name, man, but this happens sometimes, but where Americans would go get international money, do commercials or whatever, and as far as USA goes, no one would really ever see it. But now with the internet, like we're seeing here in this Rick Ross situation, it can be seen. You know what I'm saying? But I'm really truly wondering how much dough Rick Ross really got for this commercial, if he ain't the big boss, cashing all them checks the way he has people thinking that he used to. I feel like his star power has kind of went down a bit. I'm not saying he's fully washed up or anything like that, but we just see him do a lot of stuff on social media, tagging businesses and things like that to hustle for that extra paper. Some people just got that hustle in them at all times. They'll hustle till they're not broke, and even then they'll hustle like they're still broke. I don't know though if that's what Rick Ross has really been doing, because this isn't like something he was always doing. This seems like something more recently over the last, I don't know, 5 years or so. So comment and let me know if you guys think Rick Ross did this on a discount or if he cashed a big check for this. Nonetheless, they definitely flew him out to do this commercial with this comedian. I can't say his name, but this South African blogger who's going to break down the whole situation of why it's so controversial and why this Pick and Pay grocery company in South Africa, it's all being discussed so much, flew in Rick Ross, and, they're on the verge of possibly closing their doors. And I'm going to let her break it all down.
So, retail giant Pick and Pay has just released an advert with American rap superstar Rick Ross, and the internet is up in arms asking, WTF? Let's talk about it. Hi guys, I'm Reliant, the voice of marketing, and your friend in all things marketing, brand building, business mindset, and sometimes pop culture. So Pick and Pay has just released an advert to promote their Smart Shopper Rewards program, and it's featuring American rap superstar Rick Ross and South African comedian Skalk Bezuidenhout. And in this ad, you see them walking through Pick and Pay, and they're singing to one of Rick Ross's songs. Everybody's hands go up, and everybody looks happy and jolly, and they're basically promoting in a very comical but fun and energized way the Pick and Pay Smart Shopper Rewards program that allows you to get discounts and points off of certain purchases and experiences. So people are saying, but why do this? Why import or bring an international celebrity, somebody from somewhere else outside of South Africa, to come and be in this ad? And the reason why people are asking this question is because Pick and Pay recently announced that they were shutting down over 32 stores. In fact, let me get this correct. They're shutting down 32 supermarkets, and this includes 24 company-owned stores and 8 franchise stores. On top of that, last month, SA Corporate Real Estate announced that it was replacing Pick and Pay supermarkets with Checkers and ShopRite stores on some of their properties, which means overall you're going to see less Pick and Pay stores in South Africa. They're literally being replaced with Checkers and ShopRite stores, which is also quite concerning because we know that Checkers has the Checkers 360 program, which is similar to the Smart Shopper program, and they're doing very well. People are also saying that, is Pick and Pay trying to copy Checkers, because Checkers would usually get international celebrities to come to South Africa to promote the Checkers 360 program. So there's a lot to talk about in this, and I hope you've got a little bit of time for us to unpack this. So let's do the first one. Why would a brand that seems to be going through a lot of financial problems spend all of this money to bring an American rapper who probably costs millions of rands to bring them to South Africa to showcase or to promote a product that they don't even really consume and that isn't even relevant in the countries that they operate in? Well, you see, a lot of the time when companies are on their last leg, what they can do if they are a risk-taking company in the organization, they can actually spend more on their marketing and advertising efforts in an aim to preserve the customer base that they have and to almost spread the word about the brand so that it has some kind of relevance and power. And in that effort, they're hoping that it will get them to have more sales, it will get them to have a bigger brand, and hopefully that will also show in their ROI. So it's a last-ditch attempt at being relevant, getting more customers, and having a fighting chance in the market. So yes, it does seem weird that they would spend all of this money, and people are saying they should be spending money on their employees, but employees in the company, especially people who work at the till, don't necessarily bring sales to the business. What brings feet into the store and what is a catalyst for sales is the marketing and advertising. So if the problem is that there are less feet in the store, less people are coming in and less people are buying, then what you need to be doing is actually spending money on the activities that bring the feet into the store. And so people are asking then, why choose a Rick Ross? Why not pick a big South African celebrity? Why are you going with a Rick Ross, who's not even really related to the brand in any way, right? Because when you compare it to Checkers with their 360 program, Checkers actually flies down celebrities a lot of the time, not all of the time, who also have brands within the Checkers store. So they'll fly in a Jamie Oliver who might have a meal range at Checkers, which makes it very relevant, right? He's a chef, they sell food, and he's coming in to promote something that's already in store. So it kind of makes a lot of sense. But when you bring in a rapper who doesn't have anything to do with food, who raps in a language people can say is not the average language we speak in South Africa, and isn't actually the language that most of the target market of Pick n Pay would speak, then we're basically saying it's a little bit of an off base or out of touch campaign, because a lot of people won't be able to relate to it. In fact, some people are saying most Pick n Pay people don't even know who Rick Ross is. So why spend money on an artist that isn't mainstream popular in South Africa? And I think that's a debatable one, because I don't have the figures that will show me whether Rick Ross is mainstream popular and would appeal to Pick n Pay's market. But if we run with the idea that Rick Ross doesn't appeal to that market, then we can say that this campaign is not necessarily that successful, because they're not speaking to their customers in a way that is relatable to them. But we can also argue that by bringing someone in like Rick Ross, what they're trying to do is to get a new audience base that wasn't part of Pick n Pay's original customer base. And they're thinking that by acquiring those people, they'll be able to have better sales and a better brand presence in South Africa, and have a longer or a greater chance at survival. So it could be those two strategies. Simply looking at the ad doesn't tell you enough, because we don't know all of the data that they have at Pick n Pay that's made them make this decision. You know, I think for me, from a personal perspective as a South African marketer, I have a very big problem with brands that fly in international celebrities to do campaigns about local offerings, right? I don't have an issue when they bring in international celebrities to speak about global offerings that you can find in different parts of the continent or even the world. But when you're selling to the people in a country, I think it's good business, and it should even be in policy to use South African celebrities for South African products that can only be found in South Africa. I think it sends a very bad message to make it seem like an international celebrity would be more famous or more relevant for a South African market, especially when it comes to FMCG and retail, where you find usually the lower LSM who consume most of their marketing content and collateral. So those people aren't as interested in a Rick Ross as much as they are interested in a Big Zulu or as Java or any other South African celebrity who speaks their language and has lived the life that they've lived or understands their lived experience. So perhaps one of the issues with Pick n Pay is that then they don't know how to be relatable in the South African market. And to compete with Checkers 360 using the exact strategy that Checkers is using doesn't make any sense, because the offerings are completely different and the brands are different. In fact, right now, Checkers is positioned to be competing more with a Woolworths than is to be competing with a Pick n Pay. So in terms of their positioning in the market, Pick n Pay and Checkers are not the same. You know, Pick n Pay is almost like a fancy, affordable brand. Checkers is more of a fancy, affordable brand, where Pick n Pay is more of an everyman's brand. So their strategies have to be different. But let me know what you think. I'm going to play the ad here now so you can see it, and let me know, would you make the same decision, or would you do something differently?
All right, so you heard old girl break it down. I'm gonna give you guys a link to her TikTok, to where she posted this. You can go follow her, subscribe, whatever it's called on TikTok. I forget. Is it following? Someone let me know, and commenting, guys, and let me know if you think I should get active over in the TikTok universe, or whatever, you know. But you hear her talking about South Africans, like, why can they relate to this commercial? Does it even make sense for the brand? Rick Ross is a guy that's supposed to be this big baller. His whole persona is based off this drug lord. And then, or you know what, that's not even the right name to give tag to give Freeway Ricky Ross, because his story's all the way fucked up. The CIA did this man dirty, you know what I'm saying? Funding their illegal war that Congress wouldn't pass in Latin America and everything, and the Iranian Contras and all that. So my bad, you know. But basically Rick Ross stole his persona from Freeway Ricky, but then he put extras on it, like, you know, I'm just a baller, and, you know, I always got paper like that and everything. So on an American level, I don't know if this store is supposed to be looked at like Save-A-Lot or Aldi's or a step above that, but why would a big baller like Rick Ross shop there? Does it even make sense on that level? You know, you'll see this article here shared by this one, you know, publication who's saying, man, you know, this was a swing and a miss for this company. Mixed reviews as U.S. rapper Rick Ross wins while SA loses. South Africa loses. Rick Ross makes his South African retail debut in Pick n Pay's latest Smart Shopper campaign. Global rap superstar Rick Ross has made an unexpected appearance in Pick n Pay's latest Smart Shopper campaign, sparking debate about retailers' marketing strategy and brand alignment. And I just realized, y'all, Charles Bronson was the dude that I was thinking of, that in America, he was known as this like tough guy, but he did these bizarre like milk commercials or some kind of commercials overseas, which I'm gonna share in this video. Man, the internet done changed the game up, so you probably already done seen that footage. But you know, Americans would go get money overseas on the low, and they can't really do it like that no more. The internet will bring it to the US of A. But you hear this company in South Africa is like, why did they bring in someone foreign? Why Rick Ross? You know, how much did they pay him? Why did this company spend so much? And she broke down about how companies sometimes, when they're on their last leg, will go all out with some kind of big event or just throw extra marketing dollars out there trying to save the company, you know. But this is huge news over there, man. And my bro from Ethiopia, he was telling me, like I was sharing before, that you know, in America, he found it, like the whole hip-hop culture and everything, like very, in the whole hip-hop culture, interesting, and just kind of was taken back by it, how a lot of, and this is again coming from someone from Ethiopia that I know firsthand, he was like, yo, and he was saying it was his perspective and his viewpoints, but based on growing up and a lot of friends that he talked with, you know, that the way black rappers in American culture almost live like kings just blew his mind. And he was a big Eminem fan, because he looked at it like, yo, if Eminem, the white boy, can thrive in American hip hop, me, speaking of him, an Ethiopian from out of the country, could move to the US and blow up in hip hop. You know what I'm saying? But South Africa, from my understanding, has a bit of a different background. Africa is a huge continent, a lot of different countries or whatever. I was just speaking on my personal conversations with a bro of mine, you know what I mean? But there's a lot of different reactions out there about this. You know, people chiming in, having a lot to say. And you heard her mention that South African comedian's name. I would have never got dude's name right. Just looking at it, I was like, how the fuck do you say his name? But global rap superstar Rick Ross has made an unexpected appearance in Pick n Pay's latest Smart Shopper campaign, sparking debate about the retailer's market strategy and brand alignment. And the individual here being critical of this company was saying, even though they felt that this was a fail, a swing and a miss, that it was still a bold move, that companies have to be able, you know, to think out the box and not be afraid to do it. And, you know, that they hope that even though that this was a swing and a miss, that it didn't sway them away from trying to be bold in the future. But with the way the finances are looking, maybe there won't be a future for this company. And I think that's really what's kind of fucking everyone up at the end of the day. It says the advertisement featuring South African comedian, again, I don't know how you say that, you heard her say it, puts a local twist on the hit song All I Do Is Win while promoting the Smart Shopper Price Palooza. That's another thing too, on top of it being a place that many might look like doesn't align brand wise with Rick Ross because he's this big baller living lavish, on top of it being what many may look at as a step down from his balleristic lifestyle. You know, it's about the rewards program, you know, swiping your card and what can you get for being loyal to them. You know what I'm saying? Like, cats getting money like that off, and I like, oh man, here, I'll give my points to someone else flucked up in the game. But it says, you know, a South African media personality weighed in on the debate surrounding the ad, raising concerns about how much the retailer spent to fly Rick Ross to South Africa. He questioned the strategic reasoning behind his involvement, aside from the fact that he featured in the original song. So it sounds like, I don't know if they're saying the person reacting to this was just saying this, or Rick Ross himself. But again, there's no definitive number here. I really wonder what it is. What do you guys think? Ballpark. You know, do you think Rick Ross is taking smaller paydays than he'd like the world to know? I mean, at the end of the day, when you're always got to act like everything's so ballerific with you, nothing's really going to live up to what you're talking about. Why are you even doing commercials? Why don't you have your own grocery store, you know? But quote, I can only imagine how much was spent flying in Rick Ross to South Africa, yet there's no clear strategic reason for him to be there beyond the fact that he was on the original song. There's no discernible insight, no real connection to the brand, and no obvious reason why this was the creative direction they chose. It's jarringly obtuse. But like I said, you did give props to them being bold, you know. But at the end of the day, thought it was a swing and a miss, as well as you heard what old girl was saying. But here's some reactions online, what people are saying. That Pick and Pay and Rick Ross ad, and they wonder why they're in the mess they're in. Their marketing team seriously needs a reshuffle. So again, someone's saying, man, aren't they broke? How do they got the money to fly in the big boss, Ricky Ross? Pick and Pay chose Rick Ross, LOL. No wonder Boxer is buying them, LOL. Rick Ross Pick and Pay was not on my 2025 bingo card. Are you telling me that the biggest boss, Rich Forever, Rick Ross, is out here swiping a Smart Shopper card and budgeting? Zero brand alignment. Now, a Pantry and Rick Ross ad, that I believe. I don't know what Pantry is. How did Pick and Pay afford to have Rick Ross on an advert? That's why they call advertisements advert. It's just short for it. But I don't know that I've ever heard that referenced that way in America. Comment if you had. No wonder Pick and Pay is closing most of its stores. You paid Rick Ross for a commercial that doesn't relate to your average South African. Pick and Pay is doing terrible financially, but instead of formulating smart strategies to boost shareholder confidence, they would rather get Rick Ross on an ad. And most of these reactions, I believe, are from South Africans. Pick and Pay commercial featuring Rick Ross, I think is genius. I will tell you why. Just Mize the culturally appropriating white guy. So a lot of wild reactions from South Africans. You heard that TikToker again. I'm going to post her link below. Go sub up to her over there. Let me know what you thought of this. If you think, you know, videos about companies and stuff is interesting, as well as, you know, international stuff. Like I was trying to kind of get at earlier in the video, it's just so interesting being an American, right? Everything is kind of based over here. Like when people look at the big leagues, Hollywood, America, sports, right? We got the NFL, NHL, right? A lot of players come from Europe to play here. Don't get me wrong, there is Americans going overseas, but I don't know, that's a whole nother thing to break down or whatever. But NBA, which basketball has become very popular on a global level. You know what I'm saying? People want to come play here, which we've seen. We've also seen some American players later on in their career get a better deal than they can in America overseas in Europe. You know what I'm saying? There's some individuals from my hometown who either didn't get drafted to the NBA that went overseas and played, or did get drafted. One of them in the first round of the draft, but it didn't last. They didn't play very long, and then I think they went and played overseas. But nonetheless, that's all I really got on this one. I just thought it was pretty interesting. The big boss, Ricky Ross, I don't think he knew a lot of Americans were going to see this commercial or be talking about it. Like I said, this was something celebs did all the time back in the day, like Charles Bronson. Go to another country like Vinny Chase and Entourage and go get that born money. No one will ever know, but the internet's here now. And I think even with the internet being here, a lot of this foreign stuff still flies under the radar, you know, but this is just making such big news because of the financial state that this company is in. They're like, how, why, make this make sense? And, you know, I don't know, comment everyone out there too. When you comment, let me know if you're an American or if you're not and your thoughts, you know. But I think a lot of Americans are like, man, what did they pay Rick Ross? Is Rick Ross hurting? Is he this big baller that he still tries to act like? I mean, obviously, a lot of that is him playing a character. Again, if anyone does tune into this who is not an American, a lot of rappers are playing characters. And Rick Ross is most definitely one of them. He created his whole persona of someone, you know, who got plucked over by the CIA, among other federal agencies. And the whole crack epidemic and boom was started and put in the hood, you know, to pluck up a certain demographic in background of people to fund some old, you know, governmental bullish that was actually illegal, and journalists died behind this and everything. And, you know, Rick Ross bit this guy's whole persona, and then that guy sued Rick Ross and pretty much lost. It's all crazy at the end of the day, but I just thought that this was a pretty intriguing, interesting story, and I want to know everyone's thoughts about it. So let's talk in the comments, subscribe, go hit up that TikTokers page, and I will catch you guys on the next one. Peace. God bless. I'm up out of here, y'all.